Please welcome the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Operating Officer of virtual reality company, Guy Primus and Robert Stromberg.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank
So I'm guessing that's what it feels like to hear your song on the radio for the first time. That's actually pretty amazing, the first time we've shown that in public. So I'm very glad to be here. I'm the business guy. I don't really wear a tie every day. Don't really wear a suit every day, but I wanted you to be able to tell me and Robert apart, so I dressed up.
I think that's pretty. Yeah, follow Bob Iger. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that wasn't my choice, but
right.
you deal with the hand you have.
Yeah, I think it's actually really interesting that the company that we formed is sort of a cross-pollination of a lot of things from the gaming world and film and business. So it's been really exciting, and you sort of need leaders from all forms of what's happening to come together to sort of create this new technology, and we're really excited for that.
Absolutely. So we've thought about VRC, which is the acronym for Virtual Reality Company. We wanted to harken back to the days of ABC and CBS and NBC, and we've been at this for since the beginning of content. People were thinking about content, so we chose the acronym VRC. But we've always thought about this as not only about the creative elements, which Robert represents, and the technology elements. I'm a recovering engineer. I graduated from Georgia Tech, so we infuse the technology and the creative, but also wanted to think about this as a business venture as well. And so we see the potential, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So, Rob, question for you. We talked a little bit about your background, a couple of Academy Awards. We didn't mention the 5 Emmys that you have, directing Maleficent. You don't need to be in virtual reality. You could be doing anything in entertainment you choose. What was it that attracted you to virtual reality?
I've kind of spent my entire life sort of wanting to know what's next, wanting to see what's coming, and I was curious in video games when I was a kid and all of those things. But what this really started was on Avatar for me. And when we first started Avatar, we didn't know if we could make that film. I mean, honestly, we sort of said, okay, we'll try. And I remember the first meetings with Jim where it was just one character jumping over a log, and they said, okay, we can do this, But by the time we finished that, 4.5 years later, we had fully realized 360-degree worlds with Jim Cameron making that film with a virtual camera. And so I could see the leaps and bounds, and it sort of kept my eye on the technology. And so when I read that, like everybody did, that Facebook had bought a company called Oculus, I said, okay, well, I got to see what's going on. So I actually cold called Oculus on that very day and said, I have to see what you're doing. We went down there. They showed me what they were doing, and it was a combination of the tech that we had done from Avatar with this new sort of headset technology, where I realized that it was actually now a reality to sort of be able to sort of step into a world. And I've been creating worlds my whole life, so this was like really amazing. So long story short is that we started this company, VRC, which is called VRC because virtual reality company, because that's how long ago we were able to get the name. But the first order of business for me was to sort of, is this a cinematic tool? Is this a new storytelling device? Because nobody had done it. Nobody was talking about content. So the first thing we did was we did a 4-minute test called There, which is sort of traveling through a dreamlike world. But it had a narrative story to it, James Newton Howard music and real sound, a real cinematic attempt. And we ended up showing that to Steven Spielberg. And for the first time, he had seen something new, and so he's on our board of advisors. So I think going forward, it's taking this new thing and figuring out how and inventing new ways that this could be a new storytelling device that's really driving why I'm doing it.
Yep. So for me, that's actually interesting because I have a very similar story. You're the creative guy. I grew up emulating and wanting to be Ted Turner. So I used to run home every day and watch Beverly Hillbillies, and saw what he did with CNN and what he did with TBS, Superstation 17 back in my day, and watch the Atlanta Hawks and the Braves, and really believed that the Hawks and the Braves were America's team. I actually really believed that. So actually, one of my favorite shows, again, was the Beverly Hillbillies, and I always wondered what would it be like to live in Beverly Hills and have my own cement pond, So that was something I've been looking forward to. So really saw what Ted Turner did. For me, it was this connection between the technology, which at the time was cable television. It sounds very passé right now. Cable television is an innovative technology, but again, when you grew up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, that's what the state of the art was. And so combining that with really great content. And so I've been looking for my Ted Turner moment for the past 20 years or so. And Deborah Langford, I'm not sure if she's here, but she's heard me tell this story for the past 20 years. I think she believed I was telling it because she was at Time Warner at the time. That's not the case. I really did look up to Ted Turner. So actually seeing that and realizing that Ted Turner moment was right now. It was virtual reality. It was this really innovative technology, something that people didn't know what to do with. You saw the great headset, you saw the potential, but there was no content, which to me was a really incredible business opportunity. And so like Robert, when Facebook acquired Oculus, I actually didn't reach out to Oculus. I didn't have the kind of juice that Robert did in Hollywood. So I actually had to reach out to Andreessen Horowitz. And I actually reached out to Andreessen and said, hey, you guys invested in this really great company. Can you put me in touch with them? Which they did. We had a conversation. They said, well, if that's what you want to do, if that's what you really want to bring to life, there's this great team down in Los Angeles you should meet with. And so even though Robert and I hadn't met up until that time, we actually had business partners, two of our co-founders in common, and we came together and started the company at that point in time in 2014.
So where's all this going? I think the jury's still out. I think that the exciting part about it is that we're still inventing not just the technology, but how to tell stories, how to direct in VR, how to, what's the marketplace, how do people adopt, what's a better way to get to bigger masses of people, what's the business model.
Right.
So all of these things are really what we're still exploring, and whether or not it will be successful, we don't know that. But we have to be there we have to be awake when the sun is rising. We have to be there when the market is there. So for us, it's really exciting to we're in this sort of prototype, inventive mode right now, and sort of redefining the rules and what works and what doesn't, what the marketplace looks like. So I don't know if you want to talk about the future of the marketplace itself for a minute.
Absolutely. So, we're creating great content. Again, it's really good to see it up on screen, and, we've seen it in the headsets at the office. But really what we believe is that, it's very ironic that we're following Bob Iger because, as my thinking has shifted, really what we aspire to be is Disney. We really want our content to be distributed to everyone around the world, regardless of their financial circumstance. As long as they have access to a VR headset, we want to create content for them. And so I tell a story about Disney all the time. It's a very big part of my family's life, which I'm sure I'm not alone in that. But, I fall asleep and I wake up every morning, and every night with SportsCenter. I mean, without fail. And I even have a Roku device with a little kind of earphone plug in, and I put that in my ear so I won't disturb my wife as I go to sleep. But that's an ongoing relationship that I have with Disney. My wife, it's Thursday destination television for Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder. That's something that she, even in this day of the kind of DVR, it's something that she looks forward to every Thursday. My son is a huge Phineas and Ferb fan. I think Dr. Doofenshmirtz is one of the greatest characters in the history of animation, personally. But my son loves Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and my daughter, it used to be Mickey Mouse Clubhouse that she loved. Probably in the last month, though, Moana has taken over, and so and again, it's a film. You go to the movie theater, but we listen to the Moana DVD, and some of those songs that they actually created on the soundtrack are remarkable, and so that's our drive to work every day is listening to Moana. And I was a drab little crab once. I'm not sure if I can say that on the video without. But so that's what we aspire to do is create franchises that are distributed to people all around the world. And as Robert has these incredible creative dreams coming out of his head, and actually we're able to bring them to life, is something that's truly exciting for me. So I don't know if you would love to talk about some of the kind of technology challenges that we have going forward and bringing your vision to life.
Well, I think firstly that a lot of things are being separated. There's really hundreds of tentacles of VR, whether it's travel or storytelling, traditional film making, games, and so on. So it's delineating across different platforms that's been difficult, I think. Between Oculus and Vive and Sony PlayStation, they're all different. So it's really it's really sort of trying to do something that's platform agnostic and coming up with new and inventive ways to tell stories, whether it's sort of you feel like you've been sort of plopped into a Pixar movie or you're in a passive cinematic event. So it's we're doing some exciting experiments in all of these things.
Right. So for me, what happened is, again, 2015, people were only talking about hardware. 2016, they kind of quickly discovered, okay, no one's going to buy this hardware if there's not really great content. And so, we felt right place at the right time. Now what people are realizing is that this content, again, it's not the budget for Maleficent, it's not the budget for Avatar, but even virtual reality content at a cinematic level is very, very expensive. And so for me, actually getting the money into virtual reality so that we can create content. Again, we've raised $25 million. We feel we're on very solid financial footing, but we can only produce so much content. So we're looking for Disney and others. Oculus, I know they have a really huge fund. HTC Vive has led a consortium called the VRVCA, Virtual Reality Venture Capital Alliance, to put $15 billion into virtual reality. Not just virtual reality content, but the marketplace in general. And so when I give our investor pitch, the last slide I leave with it's a slide from Jaws, and it's a quote, "We're going to need a bigger boat." If the marketplace is going to move forward, if we're going to serve great content to people all around the world, regardless of their financial circumstances, we're going to need great investment so that we can bring our great content to life.
So, obviously, a lot of the early financing was put into the tech of all this, and I think what we're now realizing is that in order for any of this to work, we're going to have exciting, compelling content, and that's going to take money. To your point, so we were fortunate to raise some money, and we're able to sort of create some I think groundbreaking pieces that you'll hear about soon. But none of this will work unless, I remember back before computers were here at all, I used to do visual effects in traditional ways. And then when the computer arrived, it was really interesting because we all thought we were going to be out of a job because here's this machine that can do everything. And what we found out was that you will always need creative people and technical people to make beautiful things. I think, once artists started using computers, you started to see fantastic things in CG creatures, and films became better. And I think the same thing's happening here, where technology is at a point, but it needs a creative force and financial force, and all of those things together, I think, are going to create something. It's brand new. It's a brand new medium, and I think people are going to be shocked at how powerful it is.
That's actually a really great point. I think the thing that, for me, that really talks about the future, and talks about the opportunity, not only for great storytelling, but a great business model. We've only come so far. Rob likes to say we're kind of in the black and white era of virtual reality, and I think in a lot of ways that's true. So I think about it, we're actually only addressing 2.5 of our 5 senses, right? There's kind of the sight, there's the visual, and the immersiveness of the 360-degree 3D content. And then there's the sound, and actually, again, it's amazing how much of an impact music and sound has on virtual reality content, any content in general. And then there's motion. So we have motion, we have haptics. We actually have made a small investment in a company called Axon VR, which does haptic gloves and suits eventually. It's remarkable because they showed their demo, and not only can you kind of feel something acting on your skin, you can actually feel the temperature. So you can put an ice cube on your hand, and your hand will get cold. If you pick up a hot lava rock, your hand will get hot, and it's actually so precise that you can feel a spider walking across your hand in virtual reality. So given that we're again only dealing with 2.5 senses, we still have the kind of touch, really to deal with, the smell, the taste. What do you think is going to be kind of some of the really breakout content that combines all of those 5 senses?
Well, I think the one thing that I found really powerful is you can you're not just telling a story, a good story anymore, but you can either participate in a story, which is completely unique, or you can sit back and watch somebody tell you a story. I sort of equate it to like if you went to a Broadway play and you're watching a performance and you can be in any seat in the theater, but you're still getting what the director wanted you to get, the story. And it's live and you have the choice to look wherever you want to look. But that doesn't take away from the story itself. In VR, we now have the opportunities to sort of take part in a story, which is interesting. So those are some of the things that we're doing, which is going to sort of change the definition of storytelling, I think, in general.
Absolutely. So we have just a few seconds left. Is there anything else that you'd like to share? You know, kind of again, Rob doesn't like to be called a creative genius, especially in a big crowd like this. But you know, you have one in your presence. I acknowledge it every day, but you know, I apologize. But you know, is there anything?
Go on. No, I'm kidding. Look, you know, it's really simple. We don't have any time to really explain what's going on. But if we had 2 hours and everybody in the room separately, I think all of you would walk away saying to yourself that, wow, this is really something unique and special, and I can see the future for the first time. It's exciting. It's brand new. We are in the infant stages of it still. A combination of VR, AR, and all the technology that's happening is very crude right now, but be patient, and I think everybody will be blown away.
Yeah, and I would, again, offer, we're at a business school conference here, so I assure you that the business is following the creative, and it's coming soon. So thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thanks.